Hello and welcome back to Star Technology. In today's episode, we will start off by showing off the new cobblestone works I made. The setup downstairs in the starter base was not cutting it anymore, so I set up these three sets of crushing wheels here, one for gravel, one for sand, and one for dust. And we set up, let's see, 6 of these igneous extruders with pipes that have upgrades. Pipes that have iron upgrades on the extract, so they extract faster. And the igneous extruders has LV upgrades, so they make cobblestone faster. And yeah, it became a little bit ugly, but yeah, it's tucked away over here in the corner. And yeah, the setup for cobblestone is also not that pretty. And I put it over here with the passive steel, which has just been chugging along. We have a lot of steel now, like 8,000, and I just used a bunch. But yeah, this gets us dust, gravel, and sand, and it's topped off so that we are sieving all of the time. Let's see, these are for now not filled up, and these are all sieving. And yeah, I used this ore factory over here in order to get some gallium. You get this by, see here, get this gallium by ore processing Sulfuric, and we need this in order to make medium voltage circuits. For that as well, I've set up this void extractor controller. This is another way to generate resources. You get coal, sodalite, pentalite, and gold, and then you also get silver and realgar. And this realgar here is especially interesting as it's needed for making yeah, we need to grind it down into realgar dust and then centrifuge it. This gives us arsenic, and this arsenic here is needed for medium voltage circuits. You mix it with the gallium I just told you about into gallium arsenide. This we have already done. The gallium arsenide you can make into small pieces, which are the ones we use, and together with a kind of fine copper wire. If you use the annealed, you get a better yield. So we will definitely be doing that as we have the arc furnace set up. And yeah, this gallium arsenide here and some glass, you get diodes, which yeah, are needed for our first MV circuits. So that's why we set this up. I'll show you around this setup here, because for this to work, it needs drilling fluid. And we have a pretty basic setup for that here. The first setup here, or like the first machine, takes the pumpkin seeds that we make for the biodiesel, for this plant oil there. We just have an ender draw on that and throw that into an extractor, which makes a seed oil. The seed oil we throw into a distillery and get lubricant. And the lubricant we mix together with water and stone dust to get drilling fluid. And this stone dust we get here from just macerating gravel. With the other resources here we get from void extraction, we also get something called rare ore residue and rare ore slurry. These two here we could use at the medium voltage age to get other ores here, which we will need for making processes that are needed for progressing through the game. One of those processes is getting stainless steel. We need this for. This rare residue here gets us chromite sludge dust. It's needed later on. We don't need to talk about that right now. One component for getting MV circuits is these diodes here, as we talked about. The other is getting these phenolic printed circuit boards. For that we need silver, which we get from the void extraction as well. We need these phenolic circuit boards, which is just glue and wood pulp. And we need this sodium persulfate, which is a chemical we haven't made yet. We can also make use of iron 3 chloride and later on this cubic chloride solution, which we haven't unlocked yet, as that is EV tier. Okay, so we are going down quite a bit of a rabbit hole right now to get these phenolic circuit boards. To get the sodium persulfate, we need this sodium bisulfate dust. And to get that, we need salt and sulfuric acid. The sulfuric acid should be possible. The salt here is a little difficult, not difficult, but it's at least a rabbit hole. We need to centrifuge salt water, and to get salt water, we centrifuge seawater. And seawater we get by using a wooden barrel on transformation mode. You change mode by going into the barrel and choosing a mode here on the robot arm. And that needs to be set to transformation. So water with sand gives us seawater. This together with a drum. We don't have one, but let's make a drum. Let's make a cobble actually, so we have them. Let's use this to transfer it. Then we need a centrifuge. I think we can borrow one from somewhere. I really don't want to grab this. We might need to make a new one if we don't have one up here. Yeah, let's make a new centrifuge and that we can use for on demand, and then be right back. Okay, so I'm back here with the centrifuge. Let's throw the seawater in there. And this gives us salt water and crushed saltpeter and rock salt. These we can further process at some point as well if it's needed. I'm not quite sure what we need this for yet, but we will probably need it at some point. This saltpeter here I think we will need for explosives at some point. Yeah, gunpowder. Yeah, at some point we'll need it, but not right now. The salt water here we can centrifuge again. This is also a good way to get the salt water is a good way to get chlorine and hydrogen if we, instead of centrifuging it, electrolyze it. That's how we'll get this at some point when we need it. After we have the circuit assembler, which makes circuits easier and cheaper to make, we will work on setting this sodium persulfate, or maybe the iron 3 chloride, whichever is easier, up automatically, but we will need a lot of circuits for those processes, so it would make sense to make the circuit assembler first. So yeah, it is cheaper. Now that we have a bit of salt, we should work on the sulfuric acid. This here. This should just be some oxygen. And some sulfur. Like we do 2 oxygen, some sulfur gives dioxide. Mix it with another oxygen, gives us trioxide, and I'm pretty sure we just mix it with water and that gives sulfuric acid. So that's very easy now that we have oxygen set up over here. And this should be an easy process to automate as well. But right now we will just make a batch. So oxygen, let's just do this. Some sulfur, and I think we need a circuit of 1. Oh. The sulfur dioxide, we need a circuit of 2. And let's make a little bit here. And then, as I said, this dioxide we mix together with more oxygen to get the trioxide, and then we will want to get some water. Let's go downstairs and just fill up a barrel with water here. Just throw it into here and they should quite quickly fill up. The phenolic boards here we are making in an assembler with glue and wood pulp, the circuit boards. And I'm borrowing the macerator up here to ore double the silver that we got, because it's in a bit of a short supply until we get the galena ore processing up and running, or we have that void extractor running for a while. Silver we need to make into foil. That's a binder on a circuit of 10. That will make us foil. Our chemical reactor finished making us trioxide. So we will turn that into sulfuric acid by mixing it with water. And that's 1 bucket of water and 1 bucket of trioxide, I'm pretty sure, gives us sulfuric acid. Okay, now our sulfuric acid batch finished up. This we mix with salt, I thought. We might need a circuit. Let's see here. Sodium persulfate. Yeah, we need a circuit of 1. This gives us our bisulfate dust and some hydrochloric acid. This hydrochloric acid I'm pretty sure we can use to make the other acid, the chloride here, if we mix it with some iron dust and in a chemical reactor we will get the other type of circuit board acid that is needed. So we have sodium bisulfate and we have iron 3 chloride, and you can use the byproducts from the sodium persulfide production to make the iron 3 chloride solution. And I think you can also use this hydrochloric acid for other kinds of processes later on, but that will probably be what we do, make it into iron 3 chloride. These sodium bisulfate dusts we electrolyze, and that gives us some hydrogen together with the sodium persulfate that we need. While that is electrolyzing, we can try out the iron dust together with hydrochloric acid to see if we can make some of the iron 3 chloride, and it seems like we are able to. And the iron 3 chloride I'm pretty sure is a little bit better than the sodium persulfate, as it needs a little bit less when you make the circuit boards here. You need 100 iron 3 chloride to make 1 phenolic printed circuit board. For the same process you need 200 millibuckets of sodium persulfate. But we get both from this process, so that's just a bonus. I think we'll use the iron 3 chloride first. So we throw that in there with some phenolic circuit boards and some silver foil. And this should make us the first phenolic printed circuit boards. We need to make sure that we are completing the quests, and to make sure to do that we need to grab the different acids in buckets. It's kinda annoying, but that's just something you need to do. So now that we made sure the processing line quests for at least some of these acids here are completed, we can continue with the quest line here. The next one, let's see here. Oh, it wants us to have a glue bucket as well. It's kind of annoying this doesn't just complete, but it's fine. you don't use buckets as much as you use drums, so it would be nice if it would complete from the drums, but yeah, we will survive. Let's see. Now that we have those quests complete, we can continue. So we need to hold the circuit boards and the printed circuit boards, and we made both of those. Now, in order to make the MV circuits here, the first MV circuits, all we need is to make the diodes. And for the diodes, I made some annealed copper up here. I borrowed our arc furnace from the passive steel setup. And we will just have to wire mill that, and it needs to be fine copper wire. We'll also make some normal annealed copper wire, as that is needed for the resistors, I'm pretty sure. It's either the resistors or the vacuum tubes. Let's see. Yeah, the vacuum tubes gives a better yield of those. Yeah, so all we need now for the MV circuits is the diodes, and we need to extract some glass here so that we get liquid glass. Let's see if we have an empty drum. Doesn't seem like we do. We are always running out of drums. We can just use a bucket to transfer at least a little bit of it. So we have a bucket of liquid glass, and we have annealed copper wire. Then we need some gallium arsenide. This, remember, we needed to make into small pieces of dust. Like so. Then we throw it in here, and that makes us the first diodes. Remember, if you use annealed copper wire, you get twice the yield. We will start off by making 2 MV circuits here. These are made with 3 LV circuits, the 2 diodes, a steel plate, some copper wires, and yeah, these phenolic circuit boards we made. We should be able to craft 2. And that is the start of getting into the next power chapter, or like power tier. These, you always want to use the first 2 circuits for the circuit assembler, the LV circuit assembler, and the next you want to use for the MV, let's see here, the MV electrolyzer, at least in this mod pack, because this gets us easier aluminum, but the circuit assembler gives us way cheaper circuits. Yeah, let's see here. This should be possible to make. All we need is quartzite that we haven't seen yet, and this we get from these quartzite geodes. For getting the quartzite here, we need to crack open a quartzite geode, and to do that we need let's see here, a cutter, which again needs cobalt. Cobalt we can get from ore processing this, let's see here, pentelandite. If we, let's see here, yeah, if we crush this and ore process this in distilled water instead of normal water. Let's see, I think at our current ore factory we are using normal water here. I think it's beneath, but if we instead use a bit of distilled water and yeah, do one of these crushed pentelandite ores, we should be able to get our first cobaltite. So I removed the aqueous accumulator from our ore factory, and I turned this input bus so that we don't do the copper ore automatically. Then I will take one of our mini drums and steal some distilled water from here. This is right next to a rock filtrator that uses distilled water, so that's pretty easy. Let's throw that in here, and this should run. Yeah, it does. And we might need a few to get our cobalt. Our cobalt dust. No, we did get one in our first 2 run-throughs. But let's see here. If we have more up here, let's do a few more while we have distilled water in there, so that we might need more cobalt. The first cobalt we got, we will use to make our first cobalt brass. Let's see. We need to make the dust, which is 1 aluminum, 1 cobalt, and 7 brass. We haven't gotten aluminum yet, so we will have to figure out a way to do that. I think we can do it by centrifuging some. I think it needs to be purified emerald. Dust here. That's one way of getting it at least. We can also electrolyze a bunch of stuff. Let's see if there's something emerald colored here. Yeah, emerald gives a bit, but you need a lot of emerald dust for that. I do think we can just macerate emeralds though. Let's see. And we have a lot of emeralds. Yeah, we can just macerate emeralds and centrifuge those. That's a bit expensive, but we once we get an MV electrolyzer, we will have a way cheaper way to do that. Okay, so I crushed quite a few emeralds, and this emerald dust here, I think we electrolyzed. We should have an electrolyzer here. Oh, is this an MV recipe? Oh, it is. So we might need the purified emerald after all. Yeah, we do need to centrifuge the purified emerald. Or the other purified geodes here, it seems like. So let's grab a couple of these and then let's see. I think we macerate these and we can either we can thermal centrifuge these, and this should give us quite a bit of aluminum. So let's do that. Let's get a thermal centrifuge and I'll be back again. Good thing we have let this keep running, so we have quite a few of all of these geodes. So let's see, if we thermal centrifuge these, we should get a chance of aluminum. And if we also, I think we can further process this if we do something with the refined emerald here. We can, oh, that has to be in a medium voltage, because in a medium or high voltage macerator you can get a chance output of the aluminum. These chance outputs are only from high voltage and above. Let's see, what else can we do about it? We can this. We cannot really do much with it, it looks like. But we have our first aluminum here, so that's good. Together with cobalt. And let's get some brass. This we will need to grind down. Let's do a couple of recipes, because I think we need these for lapidary dynamos as well. Let's see here. Let's grind this down. Let's steal the mixer we have up here at our drilling fluid setup. Let's throw in aluminum, cobalt, and our brass dust. And we don't even need a circuit, this just works. Or if we do need a circuit, it's a circuit of 1. And this takes quite a while, but we will get our cobalt brass. And we will not need this cobalt brass for the LV cutter, which makes it so we can crack open geodes into their gems instead of just their dust. And this will also double the yield if it's the dust we need. The cobalt brass smelted up, and we are making it into plates here. Let's see. These plates... my inventory is filled. Let's see, we want the cutter. The plates we should be able, with some tools, to make into a blade. We want our LV motors, a casing, this machine hull, we can make the conveyor. And these, besides the circuit machine we are making, should be the last manual, or at least the last crafted circuits that aren't crafted in a circuit assembler. The cutter down there we can use to cut open our first quartzite geode. We need some water, lubricant or distilled water, but we have made a bunch of lubricant up here, so we'll just steal some of that. Since that's the best thing you can cut with is lubricant, which makes it the fastest and uses the least. It used 4 millibuckets of lubricants, and yeah, it's also the fastest way to do it. With just regular water it's very slow, and with distilled water it's a bit faster. Smelt this up. I smelted up the quartzite geode and we get 2 quartzite from that. I'm making some brass rods which are needed for the sensor. Sorry, the LV emitter. And with all of this we can make our first circuit assembler, the LV circuit assembler. And this will make our lives a lot easier. If we take a look at the LV circuits in this assembler here, these, instead of requiring coated red alloy cables and a steel plate, it just requires the same amount of vacuum tubes and resistors, but the red alloy wires are 1 less of them and they do not need to be coated. And yeah, we need the resin circuit board, and we get 2 of them instead of only getting 1. So it's so much better, this recipe. And we'll make sure to default this recipe, as this is the only recipe we'll be using from now on. Until we, of course, get the even better recipes. The next level is these basic integrated circuits, which requires some other items but also gives 2. These does not look cheap at the moment, that's because they are not, but they are needed for the cheaper MV circuits. So if you use these, you can get 2 MV circuits from 2 LV circuits instead. And they are also needed for the first high voltage circuit. But that's a little bit later down the line. I think this is what I had for you this episode. In between episodes, I'll process a bit more resources. I'll probably craft up a bunch of LV circuits and get a lot of aluminum. I will, make a lot of all of everything, and then next episode we will get to making our first aluminum, and like we have aluminum, but aluminum ingots, and we will also be passiving this process. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope I'll see you again in the next one. Bye bye.